comfortable in here. I prepared the lights in here, which makes it colorful and warmer lights so I can relax because I'm generally nervous. I haven't done a presentation because of COVID for about a year and a half. So that's great, right? So I started my career, I guess, in music, where I did a lot of like nightclub lighting, and I got introduced to musicals and how you can simulate lights to show that, oh, it's a sunrise, there's northern lights or moonlight, and we as humans understand that concept of light as a medium to tell a story, right? This is actually something that is annoying me a lot in the lighting industry these days, that they have something they call human-centric lighting, which is basically, oh, in the morning it's red light or warm light. In the day it's blue lights, cold lights to make you more active because it's in the middle of the day. And then in the evening to make you more tired after work and make you fall asleep on the highway home when you're driving. They make it warm again. I have so far not seen any scientific basing on this. I'm sure there is. I just haven't been presenting it. Every time someone asks or tells me that, oh, it's human-centric, I ask them, what do you mean by that? And I think they just mean that it's theater. It's a theatrical thing that we have been programmed as humans to understand the cycle of the day. Maybe it is messing with our hormones and making us more alert and tired, or maybe it's just placebo. That's what I think. So, because of this theater thing, I got into lighting design in university. I met my first boss, Kevin Shaw, at a lighting design festival in Sweden. He asked me on the end of the week if I wanted an internship in Edinburgh. And I said, yeah. So I stepped on a plane for the first time in my life and flew over to Edinburgh. After that, he offered me a job. So on the day of my graduation, I put myself on the exact same plane and flew over there and sold all my stuff in Sweden and started a career in lighting design. Right. Here are some projects. We will begin with this one. This is Scott Monument in the middle of Edinburgh. I didn't do much planning for this one, but I did climb it about 30 times to focus the lights so that they hit the tower in the right way, so it doesn't, make weird artifacts in the fog that is always present in Edinburgh. It's bad weather all the time. And it was pretty cool. During this time as well, the Vive came out. The original HTC Vive, and I bought it. And remember, this was in the beginning of my career. I didn't have, a lot of money. I actually bought it when kinda shouldn't have, because I lived on noodles for the rest of the month, which was fine. So it was quite an investment. So I thought, after playing, the lab and all that, maybe I can use this because it's very, very, you get a sense of scale, you get immersion and all that stuff. So I built a VR model of my very first own project and showed that to the architects working on it, and everyone was like, whoa, that's so cool. That model took me about 2.5 months because I'd never touched Unity before. The model itself was actually made by the architects, and I just realized that SketchUp Unity rather, has native support for SketchUp files, which made things very easy for me to, oh, I can see Senkel there on my camera in the box.
Sorry.
Unity has built-in support for SketchUp files, and if you don't know what SketchUp is a very well used, let's say, architectural to build models easily and measure things and stuff like that. So I built it in there. Generally very nice feedback from all the architects when they saw it. So I continued. I built the office I worked in because why not? I was bored. I sat there with their Swedish flag on the monitor and the cat and a donut. That was my space. My throne, so to speak. I also used VR to plan my next project that I had. So the top pictures here are from the model, and the bottom pictures here are from the made projects that came out of it. I didn't use it to present to the client or the architects. I just use it at my home to look at it. How does it feel? Can I use it this way? Can I do this way? And so on and so on. Now then, the third picture on this, here we're going back to this one, the New College Edinburgh. That is a building that was built in 1930. And I remember me and my Icelandic colleague, we went there to mock up a design we made on paper. So we ran around on all these weird little crooks and crannies of this beautiful building in, I should add, about 2 to 5 centimeter layer of bird shit, because this building hadn't been cleaned since it was built. That's why they did the refurbishment of the whole facade, and it was nasty, right? Rainy as well, and we stood up there taking pictures on only the your left side tower, and then I photoshopped in that and like composed it together into a render. And every time I look on that, I always feel there must be an easier way to get a result like this. And here and behold, there it is. The full building in full scale in VR, built within, I'd say, 10 minutes. Of course, the model is taken from Google Streets or Google Earth because someone was good enough to model it on there. But, you know, putting the lights in Unity, piece of cake, if you know what you're doing at least. Another thing I want to mention about this building, if we redirect our, let's see, if we redirect our focus on here. I was drunk a lot in this town, by the way. Edinburgh is a party town, and there is a party trick that you can do if you ever visit Edinburgh. And I can't really tell you to go and do this, but I did it every time I went home from the club or whatever. I took my mates and be like, you wanna see something cool? If you flag this armature here, this light fitting, flag meaning putting a coat on it or your bag or whatever, Darth Vader will appear in front of the whole city, which I find incredibly funny every time I did it. And it's still like that from all I know. So this was in, what do you say, 2017, 18 maybe? So every time I wanted to show my models to my coworkers or architects or whatever, I had to bring my whole computer set up and everything, you know, and it was just awful. Carrying my sweet computer that I built myself, it didn't feel right. So that kind of showed the issues I had back then, and that's a little bit why it fell off, why I didn't continue too much with it. But as a planning tool, using VR, instead of just sitting in front of a computer looking on a 3D model on a 2D screen, you can, most of them, at least today, not back then, most of the models you use, like in Revit or IFC or, as I say, SketchUp, have VR programs nowadays. You can load up almost any project that you work in a 3D model, and there are programs that are made for this. I don't know all of the names of them, but you can visit your projects way before they're done and plan way before they even started with the foundation of the building. You can be ahead of time, understand the space, and all that stuff pretty quick and pretty easy. There's a lot of prefabs. Let's talk about the next thing, presenting your concept for the clients. You sit in a big room, you have drawn some stupid shit on a paper. That's one of my first concept renders. And, you know, people rather sit and look on the stock market on their phones, like in the corner there. That's generally how it goes when you present to these people. And if you are in VR instead and say, hey, I have this great idea for a, hold on, let me just... I have a great idea for how we can make this space a little bit bigger and more exciting to look at. So look on this ceiling, for example. What if we made it taller and added a massive, super expensive lighting there? Like that. Easy. People who are in VR here can now see get the sense of scale. Now, of course, this is an extreme example. You would never do this in a real building because there would be a room above it or a ceiling or a roof of a building. So, but as a proof of concept of what you can do in VR, you can do this. It's easy. Again, 4 days to make this presentation world from scratch. The next thing that you can do is the interior designers. They always show up to these meetings with their mood boards or surface boards or whatever. They have the NCS colors and they go, oh, this color goes great with this one, and you can use that to contrast that place. And I just think you can do that in VR as well. Easy, and you can get a sense of scale and you get the furniture. So how does that look then? All right. Right over here, we have a little conference room, which is cycling through different, pretty extreme, I will admit, color schemes and surfaces that you can present to your client or just your design team to feel which one feels good, right? So you can walk in there and have a look if you want to as well. I'm not gonna stop you from that. There they go.
It's really cool.
There is a real-time lighting there, so it is a little bit laggy maybe on some computer, but that's how it is.
It's really cool. It's awesome.
Thank you. Right, moving on. If you all could go out from the little conference room so you don't get thrown into the abyss. Right. The next slide is, if you do these meetings in VR instead of taking a long commute to the place, you spend half a day going on the train to Glasgow from Edinburgh, for example, and then you have a little stupid meeting, wearing stupid hats, looking at stupid drawings. You waste time and you waste energy and you just want to go home, and when the meeting is over, you take off your stupid hat, your hair is ruined, and you sit on the train back home with all the other people who do the same trip every day. But you can just do it in VR, like this old chap has figured out. And if you really, really, really want to, you can still wear the hard hat. Nobody will know. Nobody knows. You can still do that. Like, it would be exactly like being there. Right?
Immersion.
So,
Why go through the
immersion,
trouble
it's
of going to the
Immersion. All right.
super
travel when
important.
You just ruin your hair at home.
Right? Oh, you don't even have to fix your hair at home if you do it this way. So,
Just ride
what
the
happened
train back in.
next? Yeah. What happened next? Let's see here. I cannot drop the VR stuff because it didn't really caught on. It was a little bit early in its development. It was bulky to bring my computer everywhere and all that stuff. But also, this is the time where I discovered VR chat kind of a thing, and I started building more worlds for this place. But more on that later. Before we go there, I went to Iceland instead with my Icelandic colleague and worked there. I chunked massive floodlights into the volcanic chamber of a volcano. Right over that was insane. I did weird pool baths houses, things I really cannot build in VR easily. But this massive project we had in Revit, and one of my colleagues in the Icelandic office who had worked on EVE Online and, Lazy Town and all those 3D stuff, he was also a VR maniac. Like, he liked this stuff. So he said, Eric, come here, let's check out this model I made for this project. I put it on, it was like 10 FPS. It looked like it was done by an engineering firm. No hate. I mean, he literally just put it into this program that made it into VR. And there were people standing around on their phone, Uncanny Valley, and a digger over there digging nothing in the ground to immerse people. It was okay, and all of these things are still out there, and they're even better now, I think. I remember he could change the weather, change the time of day, show how the shadows would move in the rooms, and all that stuff. Things you cannot do without a VR headset or visiting the sites when it's done.
Your microphone is giving a lot of feedback.
Oh, that's all right. After that, I went home back to Sweden, and the whole world kind of changed. Of course, we're still in this changed world. I was not allowed, or well, I was allowed, but I choose to not work in the office. I choose to work from home. I didn't have to do my hour commute back and from work, so 2 hours a day I saved. And I thought, great, let's learn something new. I learned coding in Udon, of course. I never coded before, and I had some Unity things, so I built a game, soon to be 2 games, massive city worlds and a VR concert, because again, I'm a musician and I missed playing in clubs and having concerts, stuff like that. But in VR, I noticed something. So, when you are in a public space somewhere and there is, the prank of standing and staring up into the sky, and someone walks by you, and they look up and you go, "Ha, I got you." That's me full time. Every time I walk into a restaurant, every time I walk into a store, bathhouse, gymnasium, you name it, any building where there's lights, I will stand there and I will look at them. All right, what's going on here? What do they think? What is going on? What brand is that? What kind of light source might this be? This is one of those massive sky beams. Don't do that. It's not good for your eyes. It's my friend, a little bit crazy. So in VR, right, I started looking at lights and get an understanding. And myself, I'm not super, great at making my worlds look beautiful and real. I use the standard baking in Unity, but my understanding of light knows where it should come from and how it should hit on people and how you place light probes and all of that. So I will show some other worlds in VR chat on the screen that do know how to use bakery and makes worlds that are beautiful. And we will begin with Summer Solitude. I guess all of you have been here. It's made by using bakery as a lighting baking program. And I don't want to, I'm not here to shit on other people's creations. But kind of a example of what not to do is put a clear downlight in the ceiling and not have anything on the floor. Everything is on the ceiling. That's weird, but to give some credit back, it works. It works with the colors, it works with the contrast, it looks beautiful. But that's the kind of things that I noticed and, annoy a little bit. I'm probably the only one who sees this because it's been my profession. Like any obsession, profession, or hobby that you have, you start thinking, if you're a musician, this limiter in this song is working way too hard and it sounds like garbage. Nobody else can hear that. This code for this game is really janky and it's making my frames drop. Nobody else cares. The light on this light source is not shining up or down. Only I care. Nobody else cares. But I will try to just give some pointers to make your worlds look more real so that they can convince people that you can make almost photorealistic worlds in VR chat, in Unity. This is Virtual Florence. It's based on Hotel Estrel in Germany. It's a 1-to-1 scale project or model. If you look on Google, you can barely see any difference. It blew my mind the first time I stepped in this world. But again, downlights in the sky does not make square lights around the couches. That's what I noticed in this world when I was there the first time. And it didn't ruin the experience, I just noticed it. And have anyone else seen it? Or am I the only one, as I kind of think I am? Right? Nobody else sees this stuff. Next project, Midnight Rooftop by Lexed. I'm Lexed. Sorry. Most definitely bakery. I couldn't reach out to him before the presentation. But again, it looks so good, and it's warm colors that I have already proven that I love in VR worlds. It's amazing. But the same here, a lot of downlights in the ceiling that are of white colors, but there is no white on the floor. Small things. Only I see it. Again, I'm not shitting on the creators. It looks brilliant compared to the stuff I make. Next one. Aquarius, this is quite a new world, and I love this one. It's different. They use post-processing in a very, very good way, like the bloom and all that. And I do want to share a little bit of a post-processing experiment that you can do. So in this world that I made for this project or this presentation, there is bloom, and there is color correction. So I can turn it off, and you will see the difference. It looks kind of dull now. Right? There is bloom, and it is quite wide, but because it's so low, it doesn't make my vibrant eyes, shine all over the place, looking like you all have Vaseline on your lenses. But there is a trick. If I go back to this first scene, and you look up into the lights here and the downlights, they kind of glare you. And there is a trick to do that. You use the HDR on the emissive surface, and you get a nice range of how glary it is. I'm not changing anything in terms of how much bloom there is on each one of it. It's just the HDR. It's like a magical orb, this one. Very glary, so I don't want to look at it too long. So that's like my hottest tip. Like, learn how to use bloom. Think of how the light actually falls in the room when you make it, and try to just, you don't have to make it look realistic. And most of these that I've shown before make it look good, and only I see the things. But for someone who is incredibly damaged by their work, have an extra look on where the spotlight shows on the floor. And with that, I'm a little bit early, but questions? Shoot. And thanks for me as well, by the way.
Thanks, Cirrex. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and do questions at this point in time. So let me just get up. And basically how we're going to handle questions is just in a very orderly manner. If you have questions, just kind of get in the line, maybe like right here.
Yes, and right where Bagel stands, right where you stand, you get a global voice as well. So if you stand here right next to me, that would be great. And you will see my little box.
Is it right here, or is it like right here?
All the way to the wall over there.
Hey, you thought about everything. Hey, nice. I didn't even know that. It was like it was rehearsed. Anyways, yeah, so go ahead and line up if you guys have any questions about lighting or even questions about his job. If it's something that sounds interesting to you, if you never thought about, light architecture or anything like that, I'm sure you can ask questions about that, or, anything that improves your world in terms of lighting. I mean, you saw a lot of examples here today. You actually blew my expectations of what I thought you were gonna do for a world, actually. So I was like gleaming whenever I saw a lot of this stuff. So yeah, go ahead, everybody. Let's line up right now if you have any comments or questions. So feel free, like right now, if you want to. Let's go. I see some people who are very, very eager, I see, to ask all kinds of questions about the cool stuff of lighting. Yes, very, very interesting questions. Or I'm just going to call people out.
Form the line.
Yeah, that's right. Form the line! Right now! Chop, chop!
Not
Let's
everybody
go.
move
Nice. Thanks, Fox Sasha. Awesome. Nice initiative. Everyone get behind Fox Sasha if you have a question.
Make sure I don't bump to my bed, Jesus.
Awesome. Cool. I'm assuming Lily, you're online, or
No,
you crashed?
just me.
Okay.
If you want to, you can ask me questions about the other things I made in VR as well. You don't, anything related. If you know who I am and what I made, anything.
All right, Fox. You already know what to do. Go ahead and stand right here so everyone can hear your question.
So one of the things I've noticed, like throughout, as things change, things update, things evolve. Everybody's usually going on about performance, impact, how well does it run, and with your experience with Unity and lighting and whatnot, from your perspective of like you said, you walk in, you notice things. Like I'm the same way. It's unfortunately Payday did a number to me when I played it for 2 minutes, too many years. So I walk in, I noticed everything electronic. I noticed cameras in the room. I know exactly where things at. It's just perception. In your perception, it's all with lighting, and it's a good thing to have. But in your perspective with that, and as Unity goes on, we evolve, we move forward, what is something like you personally would want to see, like Like if you could get into, like on the Unity levels, like, oh, if I went and worked with Unity, help them edit like how their lighting stuff and work, like what's something like you would like love for them to add in, like make something easier, make something more realistic, or something that you could do that'd be really neat that would capture people to be like, that's interesting. I want to learn how to do that from like your experience and whatnot. So yeah.
Excellent question, and I do have an answer actually. There is a program that we lighting designers use to calculate lighting. It's called Dialux, and it's absolutely awful. It's free, but we do it anyway because there's no real good alternative. And in this program, you can import any light fixture on the market, almost, and they have this little IES file. And if there was a way for Unity to read this IES file, I know that we have the cookies to simulate shadows and make cool stuff, but the IES file actually tells the program exactly how much light is shining out on the sides, straightforward, and what kind of lens it has, kind of like a cookie, but a lot more advanced. And that would be a game changer, because then I could use Unity for light calculations as well. You can probably write a program that tells, oh, how many looks are on this floor if I use this light, if it has that kind of source file to it. So
for example, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, like for example, it'd be like, oh, I'm using maybe I've upgraded a fluorescent fixture to LED bulbs here, but those are still using halogen spotlights, and it would be able to tell you how much more brighter that'll be versus this, basically. Because this is going to emit X amount of light, that's going to emit. Yeah, that's kind of neat.
Exactly.
I actually would agree that would be useful.
Yeah, those files are based on how much light comes out of it of a certain amount of. I'm not gonna embarrass myself here on live stream. I am a lighting designer, by the way. I know how lights work.
Disclaimer. All right, Fox, Sasha. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're gonna go ahead. Mike, if you want to go ahead, if you want to ask your questions, you're next in line, if that's what you intended.
Excellent. So I'll just turn my
step a little bit backward.
A little bit more here. Over here. Hey, there we go. Excellent. Yeah, you got to be in this area so everyone can hear you. Awesome.
Okay. Thanks, Bagel. Thanks, Citrix. Really impressive presentation. I really love your idea of the user-centered design through lighting, and it really gels with one of the things that I'm trying to do with the Mike Virtual Office, and I just so hope you can stay around and come and visit my world, because it's really taking some of the things that you've been doing in terms of building an office and really building an office that remote workers can live in and feel really comfortable in. And lighting is such a critical part of that, in terms of warm lighting, cold lighting, etc., to create an atmosphere. So I'm just sort of wondering a little bit, the question really is can you just talk a little bit more about, user-centered design as far as lighting is concerned, and do you have a framework for that you've been thinking about?
When I plan my projects in lighting design, I try to gather as much information about the user as I can. The user, no matter what the project leader says, the user is always in the center for me. And they always go, oh, can we make it cheaper? Or can we have a cheaper light source? Yeah, you can, but it might flicker and it might have bad, color rendering and all that stuff. But for VR, I would focus more on making it interactive. So let's say like myself, a person from Sweden or the north, we like warm lights because we have the long sunsets, as I mentioned in the beginning. A person from, say, Italy have a super quick sunset, like it's down in a second because they live close to the equator. That means that when they try to extend the daylight in their home, they use cold lights, and that makes them feel at home or homely. So have an option, kind of, I guess I'm going to use the word, human-centric lighting. Plan for that, and everyone can choose what fits them the best, and have an option to dim up and down the lighting. It might be a little bit tricky to do, but it is doable with some few.
I see that as
hacks.
being. I agree. I think it's critical, and what it does is, from a marketing perspective, it makes the world sticky. It
Yes.
makes people want to stay, and that's really what, I think that we're all trying to do with our worlds, is make it somewhere that people just feel that they might not be able to put their finger on it, but it feels nice, it feels comfortable. And,
For sure,
and I see that lighting as a critical part of that.
That's excellent. Yeah,
That's,
very true.
yeah,
I
thank
agree.
you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. All right. Anyone else have any questions? Yes, Lily. Go ahead. If you're next in line. There you go.
Sorry, I've only got the one hand today, so I'm on the single controls. Yay. So yeah, I absolutely admire all your work with lighting, and I kind of noticed how you did all the lighting here. Thank you so much for using emissive material for the lighting. But there's also one other thing as well, because I used to be a paint and surface technician, and that's the other half when it comes to lighting. I've noticed as well is surface reactivity, and I'm wondering what your advice is to make the surfaces look good in the lighting, because obviously the lighting bounces off a certain material or a certain surface, and it gives that surface a character. If you would find out if these walls had a texture to it, or whether the floor here was polished or things like this. So what is your best ways of going around things like reflection probes and making sure lighting bounces off the right way, and positioning reflection probes in the correct way, so that way when you enter a room it doesn't look sort of like, oh, this is bouncing in from this area, but I'm standing here?
Great question. It's a battle I had in SDK2, because you could only make a light probe and you could only bake it, and that's it. However, I'm not sure if this is how you do it with reflection probes, by the way, but you can in Udon take the reflection probe, make it real time, and just make it stick to the local player's head and just reflects the things. So when you move to the sides, the reflection probe moves with you.
Would you be using box projection as this as well? Or just normal projection?
I've tried both, and it depends a little bit on what's in the world, I think. You can, if you're outside, I usually use the round one, not the box projection. If it's inside, you use box projection generally. Maybe not. It's all a little bit of experimenting with it. If you go to, for example, in Laserdome 2, I have the reflection probe that follows you, so you can look on the gun and you can see that the walls are reflecting off when you're moving it around. And you can see if you have a reflective avatar, you see the world reflects as you run around in the world. So it works. It's not perfect in any way because it's Unity, but it's good enough, I think. Right?
Okay, so you stick the reflection probe on the player and have it track them.
Exactly. I go get player API and get bone position, and then you get head, and then you just each frame put it on the 000 of the head and make it reflect not everything in the world. Like other players, you kind of generally don't want to calculate in the reflection probe, but real time, and just have a layer of walls and things that will reflect things, or want to have things reflected in them.
How does that affect performance?
Not much. What I've noticed, it depends. Again, it depends on what you are reflecting in it. So you don't put everything on the world as active, like on the layer thing in option in the reflection probe. You just go environment, and you make sure that everything that is on environments are things that are static and don't move too much and don't have too many polygons and whatever. Maybe it doesn't have a big impact on my worlds because, again, I use SketchUp, and it's just, you make hexagons and squares in SketchUp. That's all you do. So, I would try it out. I haven't seen any major impact on performance when I turn it on and off in during playtime. Maybe a frame or two is what I found.
Okay, Norris. Yeah, no. All right, that's fine. Because that's one thing I always look at as well is surfaces. I said when lighting bounces off one thing, I notice how things work. It's the reason why I can't go on yachts in VR, because I used to work on yachts quite a lot, and yachts in VR, I'm just like, nope, paint's all wrong, reflection's all wrong, can't stay here, gotta go.
Yeah. Too bad I'm not a texture artist, but bump maps I imagine would do great. And then on each light you can make it, you can tell it how much light it should bounce in directly from it, and just make what you think looks good, if you know how it looks.
All right.
Yeah,
I think we're ready
thank
for
you.
our next person here.
Mhm.
We only have about 20 more minutes or so, so Ginger Tea, go ahead. Yep, this will be like the last question after Valgan, and then we're going to move on to getting Mike XR set up for his presentation next.
All right, so hello. I believe it's a common occurrence that when we work on something, we kind of become null to how a normal person would perceive it. And I believe that's the case when it comes to Bloom with with many popular VR chat worlds. Some worlds just overdo it. It hurts eyes. At one point, I became so fed up with it that whenever I see Bloom effect, I just turn it off immediately.
Yeah.
And as you were turning out the bloom effect in this world, I did not even notice there was any bloom effect. And without it, the world seems so much different. Do you have any tip or trick how we can remind ourselves that we use too much bloom or that we used it in a wrong way?
So it's different. When you're making the world on your 2D monitor, you have all the lights in your room and there's a different kind of color correction on your screen. And just, turn on and off the object a few times, see what looks good, see what works, what doesn't, and then do the same but in VR. Have a button that turns it on and off, and just make sure that it looks good in both cases, when it's on, that is. Another thing I would do is, set up this kind of thing, have that in your world as a base thing, so you know exactly which material you can use in the light to make it glary, and if you just want a bright surface that doesn't glow too much, which is generally what you want to do. This, you never want to overdo these, because again, they glare and they hurt your eyes. I completely agree with that. But make a dummy world, make a box, and just try out different settings, which is quick to render, quick to go into VR in, so you don't make it on your biggest project because it takes time to build it and all that stuff. Save time, be smart.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ginger Tea. All right, Valgan, last question.
Hey.
Excellent.
All right. Two questions, though they're kind of the same question. One, why do you choose not to use Bakery? And two, is it because you don't know that they have IES support?
Oh my god, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Bakery was on sale a couple of months ago when I worked on Laserdome 2.0, and I bought it. And I tried to get it to understand in Laserdome 2.0, and I just felt, nah, screw this, I don't have time, I just want to finish the world. So it's just sitting there. But after I get to know this, I know what I'm doing tomorrow. Yes.
Yes.
I had no clue.
It's a drop-down
It's
setting
good.
on the point lights.
Oh my god, that's excellent. Yes, okay, thank you very much. Everyone is learning.
Magical.
Perfect.
Awesome. I'm gonna throw Valgan at you now, because he's always the technically kind of guy, but he's nice.
I love that. That's excellent. Thank you.
Oh no, I've become that person, haven't I?
Valgan.
Oh
You
no.
have with your YouTube video tutorials, the technically guy. But I love that. I love that about Valgan. Good friendo. All right. So I'm gonna step in here. So basically, what we're doing next is we're gonna head into the next world. Yeah, I'm just gonna lose my tracking. I'm gonna blame the lighting for that. It's blocking my. It probably is a lighting issue, isn't it? Technically,
Wow.
infrared. There you go. That's a type of light. All right, there we go.
Only
Anyways.
the sun would impact your tracking.
Hooray! Oh. That explains a lot. The window is open. Anyways, woo, we're dying. Anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and drop a portal and hop over to the back to the instance we started in. We'll have a little bit of an intermission as our live stream guys set some things up as well, and that's what we're gonna do. But thank you so much, Cirrex. Everybody, round of applause for such an
Thank you
amazing
everyone for
presentation.
listening.
Thank you
I
so
had
much
a
for
lot of
coming in,
fun.
Cirrex.
Fantastic.
Hey, yo, nice. VR clap, controller clap to destroy those $150 some pieces of hardware. Yeah, that's
I
right.
prefer doing it against the headset.
Let's go.
Like that. That's the best applaud you can get.
Again, these are 3 things at once.
All right.